Welcome, everyone, to our prayer journey with Mike Toad. I'm very excited about having an opportunity to go over the book of Proverbs. I'm going to try to do this in small increments. Today will be an introduction more than anything else. This book was written basically to one of Solomon's sons, well, actually to all his sons, and to all young men and women that want to follow and be wise. In our world today, we have a lot of video game players. And when we play those video games, what we get is multiple lives. We get to make mistakes and to learn from them. Back in the day when we were playing video games, we would refer to a manual so we have an idea of how to overcome and win in a game. But today, a lot of people don't do that. They just go and play and learn from their mistakes because that's part of the fun. However, in life, you only get one life. And it is a dangerous thing to learn from your own mistakes, most especially when they can be avoided. So this is the important thing about the book of Proverbs. Right in the beginning, it says the purpose is to know wisdom and instruction and to understand the words and insights. Now, many of my younger and older people that are looking in would remember the story of Pinocchio. What happened to Pinocchio? He wanted to become a boy, but he listened to this fox that took him off of the course that he was on, and he ended up making a donkey or you know what else of himself. He was destroying his own life by making his own mistakes. So in Proverbs, it says here the purpose is to receive instructions in wise dealing, in righteousness, and in equity. This is our help. Solomon wrote this book for his children, for young men, for young women, and for those who have stumbled and starting their life over. And you know why I say that? Because of the other books I'm going to talk about at the end. Because Solomon made one mistake. In the Jewish faith and Jewish Christian faith, God is saying a word in Hebrew known as Shema. And that is to hear God's word, to receive it, and then to act upon it. Solomon started off great, acting upon God's word. He wrote this whole entire book, and then what he did was stop following it. And that's what I'm trying to avoid by giving you the book of Proverbs now. One last thing it says here in verse 4, it's to give prudence to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the youth. It is very difficult to follow a path that you would never have taken. But if you got God's word, you can pick that up and you can do that. And that's why he wrote this book. Now, let me tell you something about Solomon so you can understand the importance of this book and the other books that he wrote in the Bible. The thing was this. He started off great. He had taken over the kingdom. He wanted to serve the people and God above all things, the people second, and then himself. We can see this in 1 Kings 8, where he dedicates the temple and he prays a prayer that I think is the most beautiful prayer in all of the Bible, interceding for people from generations to come, even for Gentiles, praying that God would hear our prayers if we called and recognized that we were sinners and got right. That was the prayer he made there. What happened to him in the meantime, or after he wrote this book? Well, first thing he did is he married a foreigner from Pharaoh and bought her and put her next to his own house. With that, he went on and has 1,000 wives. In the meantime, he wrote Proverbs where he's saying, don't do that. Stay with one woman and stay with her all her life. That was the advice he gave, but he did not follow the advice that he wrote for others and for himself. What's the consequences of that? Later on in his life, he writes the book of Ecclesiastes. It is a book where he's writing as an old man, looking back at his life, and what does he see? He lost enjoyment for many decades. Why did he lose enjoyment? Because he was searching for fulfillment in everything but God. He says in that book that he built bigger than everybody else to see if that would satisfy him. And it didn't. He was vanity, he says. When I die, it's going to be left to somebody else. What is the use of building this kingdom that I built? He learned things. He studied animals. He wrote books everywhere. And again, vanity. What is the purpose of writing many books? Then he tried drinking, and the same problem happened over and over again. Nothingness, vanity, everything is a vexation of spirit. When you start reading this book, you're to the point where you're saying, is he going to take his life? As he goes on, he closes the book with this conclusion. And this is why I'm trying to get this to kids and adults and people who have stumbled. He comes to the conclusion that what he should have been doing all along for a happy life was following God and his commandments. That's how he ends the book. Now, there's another book he wrote called Songs of Solomon. And in that book, he's talking about a relationship he had with one woman. I'm guessing that he wrote that book either right before Ecclesiastes or right after. And he's reflecting back to what it was like when he was in love with God and this one woman. You see, we heap on ourselves things that are no good for us. And the book of Proverbs has all the answers to that, and he didn't refer to what he wrote. Now, let's take it a step further. He had a son, and his son had the book that he wrote for him. And his son became king, and when he became king, the elders came to him, showing him God's word and saying, here's what you should do. You should be like your father was when he started. You should put the people, God first, the people second, and you last. And you should ease the tax burden on them because he built so big that the taxes are high. So what did he say to them? He says, let me get back to you. He goes with his friends, his wise guy friends, and consults with them, and they tell him, no, don't do that. You go back, you put that hand down harder, and you tell him, I'm going to whip you with scorpions. And what do you think happened? Rebellion. He lost partial of the kingdom because of his hard-heartedness and heart, and because he did not refer to God's word either. So here's the message for today. If you're starting out, do this now and follow the book of Proverbs. And by the way, if you want to know what taxes are, I pointed this out to a group of kids. It's like the government comes in, or your teacher comes in and says, oh, you brought this in to eat today? Let me take that portion. I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that. And people are not going to like that. And that's what happens if you don't understand why parents get upset about people taking and overtaxing. But the real message here is this. You got a chance to start off. You have one life. Now, you can make many mistakes in one life like Solomon did, but all you're doing is robbing your own joy. Instead of that, follow God's word, put it to heart, and hear it, Shema, and do it. So until next time, may Jesus increase as we decrease.